Legislation on fire safety introduced in the wake of the Grenfell Tower disaster will become law today, but without any protections in place to stop the owners of buildings from passing on the cost of cladding removal to the leaseholders. This follows a long-running parliamentary battle over who should pay for remedial work when a building is declared unsafe. Here's our business correspondent, Victoria Fritz.
They did not build them, nor do they own them, but by law, residents in some unsafe buildings may have to pay for the removal of cladding that covers their homes. Tenants are already spending thousands on fire safety measures, as well as shouldering higher insurance premiums. Campaigners say this law places an additional burden on those least able to afford it, pulling the rug from underneath a generation of homeowners, unable to fix up, move out and move on. In February, the Prime Minister pledged no leaseholder should pay for the unaffordable cost of fixing safety defects. To that end, a fund was established to issue grants. But the pot covers just a third of what it could cost to ensure safe homes for all. And what is more, the fund is off limits to social housing providers. Grenfell survivors have called the government's position indefensible. Peers in the House of Lords made repeated interventions to protect leaseholders, but MPs argued that any further delay to legislation could cost lives. Campaigners have vowed to fight on. How is hard to see. It's also unclear how the law will work in practice and whether essential works will happen if leaseholders are unwilling or unable to pay. The bill may now be law, but for people still living in some of Britain's most dangerous homes, natural justice will seem far from reached.
Well, you might remember earlier this week I spoke with Alice Swanton, who lives in a small block of flats in Tunbridge Wells here in Kent. She, along with the other residents, were told that they will need to pay to have the dangerous cladding removed from the building, meaning that they're stuck with unsellable homes.
We had people who were looking at the property and wanted to buy when they checked out with their mortgage advisors, and they went through to our company that runs our building. They were told that the building had unfortunately received a certificate of a B2 rating on an EWS1 form. So therefore, as far as they're concerned, they could not lend on that building. It's been an emotional roller coaster really for the last year. We're trying to sell because we actually want to adopt a child. So we've been trying to sell so that we can get into a house where we have enough bedrooms to house that child. And realistically, our lives are kind of put on hold and have been for far too long now. And when we're starting to think that we might never get this resolved one way or another.
Well, Alice is back with us on the programme now. Alice, how are you feeling this afternoon?
I mean, we knew it was coming, but obviously you would hope that at some point somebody might see the light, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon.
MPs voted by 242 to 153 to defeat changes to the fire safety bill. That's despite a rebellion by 32 Conservative MPs. This news must be heartbreaking for you.
Yeah, it most definitely is. I mean, we are aware that the Labour Party refrained from part of that vote, which obviously makes the numbers look a little bit disjointed. But at the same time, you know, if it was going to fail anyway, it was going to get passed by a parliamentary act, and we would be facing a case of delays against safety of other people's property. So we've ended up where we've ended up, and we're going to have to face it. And it's not just me; it's 1.5 million other people, and that's only the properties right now that have the forms against their property. There are other flats that are not aware of their status yet. So we're sort of looking at potentially 4 million people who could be facing bankruptcy.
And you say you're going to have to face it. What does it mean to you and to other people in this situation?
Well, it means up to 10 years of not being able to move, which, you know, at critical points in our life is kind of the end of whatever you deem to be your future. If you were looking to progress with anything, you're stuck. As well as obviously facing, you know, potentially huge bills that are crippling, and also demands on those bills. So some of those bills have to be paid within 28 days. That's what the new bill has said. So realistically, in order to get the building safe, we may have to file for bankruptcy ourselves.
And what are the safety implications? Is your home still flammable?
Apparently so, yes. Apparently so, yes. So as it stands at the moment, our Our wood cladding on our facade of our building is supposedly flammable. Hasn't been treated with anything to make it safe. So we are in a dangerous building as it sits at the moment.
And of course, you're there, but you can't sell, can you? Like everybody else in the building.
No, my flat, while it is in this current situation and while nothing has been paid for, is valued at £0. So I can't even take a loan out against the property to potentially pay for those bills. I have to, if I can, beg, steal and borrow for that money.
And what sort of money are you looking at?
Anything from £5,000 to £45,000. Some of the larger structures in London are sort of looking at around about the £180,000 per flat mark. And as I said, that is demanded within 28 days. So for a lot of people, that's just crippling and not possible. It's not looking particularly positive at this point in time. The only solace that we have is there's a lot of us. There's a lot of people in this situation. I'm personally thankful that I'm not having to pay waking watch or spiralling insurance costs or fire break defects. All of those sort of things are causing some of the places in London to just spiral. We're looking at £4.5 million worth of costs. It's just not a survivable thing. So we're essentially taking out a huge chunk of the market here.
So how do you fight on? What do you do now, Alice?
We will look to potentially organise a march. It won't be me. It won't be me. I'll be there, but I won't be organising it. And obviously we'll continue to campaign for reform. But we are looking at a situation that is almost instantly terrifying, because, as I said, if the bill comes through that letterbox tomorrow, I have 28 days to pay it, whether I campaign against it or not. So that's kind of the situation it's put us in.
What would your message to the government be, finally?
My message to the government would be, this has been noted by the Bank of England as being a completely and utterly, terrible situation. They have said it's going to cause a recession of the likes of 2007. The buildings are in negative equity, and it's on a mass scale. It's on a massive scale. We're not going to see a recovery from this for a large portion of a generation. And we have to find a way through this. It cannot sit the way it is. And we've already had people who have committed suicide over this. We've had tens of thousands of people go bankrupt already before we've even begun. They have to do something about this.
Alice Swanton from Tunbridge Wells, thank you for being with us.